Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. This is Thursday Thoughts with my associate coach, Lesley Myrick. If you don't know me, I'm Nancy Ganzikoffer, business coach, body language trainer, life coach. I kind of do it all for my clients. And I have now with me, thank God, Lesley Myrick, who is an interior designer and my associate coach for my firm. So good morning, Lesley.
Good morning, Nancy. I'm excited to talk about our topic today.
Yes, I'll tell you, this is a monster topic, and it's becoming more and more prevalent when people are busy that they need to have good leadership and did I write that? Learning to be a great leader and a manager, yes, is part of being a good business owner. This is a lot of questions you and I get on the business helpline
A
with the
lot.
Profit Insiders, right? The leadership management type things like staffing, when do I hire? How do I hire? Who do I interview? And all these kind of things. So let's go over some of the leadership skills that we find you definitely have to have in order to grow your firm. So why don't you start with number one?
Number one is time management. This is a biggie. Things do not happen, things do not get done if there is not intentionality with your days, your weeks, even your hours and your minutes on your calendar.
It's so true. I mean, Liz, I literally could have listed 20 skills that you really need to be a manager and a leader. But I just chose what I find most people suffer from because I could have added self-motivated, organized, right? All these things, but time management seems to kind of roll all of them together, right?
Yeah.
So different time management techniques work for different people. Why don't you tell everyone how you manage your time? And then I'll tell you everyone how I manage my time, which is a little more haphazard than Lesley. She's very organized.
Well, and that's the thing. Organization looks different for different people, different leadership types. And I know a lot of us started a design business not because we are entrepreneurs and managers, but we're designers and we love it. So we've had to figure out how to make the time management thing work. I personally, I love time blocking. My calendar, I look at it for the day, for the week, for the month, and I have, certain days reserved. Like for example, Mondays, I don't do client work. Monday is in office work, it's admin, it's business development, it's team meetings. Friday, I try to also minimize client work. I give myself a buffer on Friday to wrap up the week, make sure things are taken care of. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is when I really focus on clients and I sort of have morning blocks and afternoon blocks for different things. It might sound obsessive, but it works for me and my personality. And if it's something that you feel like you're losing control of your days, like suddenly it's 5 o'clock and you're like, what the hell did I get done? Like, you feel like you've just been spinning your wheels for 8 hours. You've been working hard, but don't have any results to show for it. Often it's because we are getting pulled to different tasks. Emails are coming in, texts, we're getting pulled away for something. We get a phone call from our kid's school. Who knows what it might be? But by having a plan, and I will say, I am a big believer in make your plans, but hold them loosely.
Yes, I
Nothing
was
ever
just
goes
about to
according to
say
plan.
that. I was
Yeah.
just about to say that.
Having a loose plan, a loose structure. Like I know today is Thursday. Thursday is client day. So after this, I have client blocks all day long to get some progress done on projects. And for me, that works. I know I can ignore other things. I've got Friday for catch up. I've got Monday for admin. For me, that's been a really helpful tool. And it helps me plan out the future weeks. So I know how many clients I can take on. I know realistically when I can meet someone for a consultation to start a new project. I will say my method is a tad bit anal retentive to some people, and I understand that.
Just a
A little
tad.
bit.
But you know what? Not really, though, because when I questioned you on it a couple of weeks ago, you do give yourself extra time. You're not like 15 minutes for the Smith job and 20 minutes for
Yes,
you say an hour and it may take you less, and then you have a little bit of space in your blocking.
exactly. Yeah. It's a
So
framework, it's a starting point so that I don't go, what do I do today? Or I don't show up at 5 o'clock going with what did I get done? I feel like I did nothing even though I worked all day.
yeah, and I think that it's probably one of the biggest issues that people have is really not understanding how long things take them. I mean, there's a simple, this is on the life side rather than the business side, but it was so important for me to figure out that I needed to, sounds so silly and simple, but it was necessary for me to figure this out. I have to get out of bed, feet on the ground, into the shower 2 hours before I have to be at my computer. Because that's the amount of time I need for everything I do in the morning, walk the
Mhm.
dog, this and that, right? So for a while, I would be like, oh, I got to be at the computer at 9 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. Better jump out of bed, go race through everything rather than giving myself some breathing time.
Yes.
So learning yourself and what works for you and managing your time is really key. And when we're training people and coaching people, we do have multiple different methods to try to get them to understand their own personalities. And we try different things until hopefully something hits and they feel relief, right? So that's the biggest thing. Time management is so that life and business doesn't control your day, that you actually control it best possible, loosely, because like you said, if you have kids or medical things going on where you need doctor's appointments and stuff, you have to have a little flexibility. But everybody has to keep trying. Don't give up on the time management, because that is really key to being a good leader and a good manager. Okay. All right. Number 2, interviewing skills. This is a big one for people as they're growing a firm. Not only are you interviewing virtual assistants sometimes and finding out whether they are a good fit for you. Sometimes you're also interviewing employees to be in your office, in your house sometimes, and understanding what to ask them, how to read their body language, how to be a good hirer, is that a word, is important. But here's the thing. As Gary Vee says, and I'm not a big proponent of Gary Vee, but he said once, and I heard it, hire slow, fire fast. And I thought, he's right.
Yeah.
But I still say you have to give an employee a chance, right? So, oh, wait, did I skip one? I skipped one, prioritizing. We'll go back to that. Okay, so when you're interviewing, we are uploading into the membership site interview questions that I often use. I have been hiring and firing since I was 24 years old, used to manage departments of 150 people. I fired a whole facility in New Jersey once, a bank. It was so sad, and I was 6 months pregnant at the time. So came home and cried every day. But I got really good at maintaining someone's self-esteem when you're letting them go. And little tips like never let someone go on a Thursday or a Friday, because they can't help themselves over a weekend find a new job. It makes them feel hopeless. So always let somebody go on a Monday or a Tuesday, right? So these little tips are things that I go over all the time with my clients as they need to let people go, plus many, many more. So getting good at interviewing, hiring, and firing is key to kind of being calm as a business owner and an entrepreneur, rather than getting all uptight every time it has to happen. Right? Have you had to do that yet?
Not to the same depth and breadth you have, but yeah, like even in a very small, like I like a really small team. My ideal is like maybe 3-4 people working with me. I have had to let somebody go, and it's uncomfortable. And I know that you teach a lot, Nancy, and I love your approach. And I don't know if there's a phrase for it, but this idea of like sort of starting with like a compliment or something positive, and then there's the little bit of bad news, but then also ending on like reassuring them in a sense, like kind of like a sandwich. Like,
yes.
but you've got to deliver the bad news. You can also do it in a way that is kind and empathetic and encouraging. It doesn't just have to be, there doesn't have to be drama around it. But of course, I feel like as designers, empathy is a big part of what we do and a big part of how a lot of our characters are.
Yes.
And it can be very difficult to
yes.
let people go. And here's the thing. If you interview well, if you interview better, you let fewer people go because you found people that are a better fit. And when you are hiring slow, when you're not in a screaming rush, when you are, as you mentioned on one of our group coaching calls yesterday, when you see the writing on the wall a little bit ahead of you and you can hire and anticipate, it gives you that time, that runway to hire slow, to really find the right person.
Yes.
That way, you're a lot less likely to have to let them go. And not to say you don't, that always happens.
It always happens. I consider myself a fairly good interviewer, but because of my experience, but it still happens where I've had to let people go. I mean, you can't not read I always say I never have a crystal ball. I can't tell if this person's going to be as good as I think they're going to be. And when I discover they're not, obviously offer training opportunities, ask them what you can do to help them. Is there something we as a company or me as a boss can do to help you become better? But if it really just keeps failing, let them go. You're actually doing them a favor also,
Yes.
But do it with compassion. And what you were referring to is something I learned when I worked in the corporate world. They sent us to a management seminar, and it was positive, positive, negative, positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember years ago, I had to let somebody go on my team. Truly, they hadn't done anything wrong. I just was moving on from their type of service. And my manager was a wreck. Like, I don't want, you want me on the call? I'm like, yes, I want you on the call because I need a witness also when I'm letting them go. And she was really nervous. And at the end, she said, I have never seen such a great like firing. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That means I did a good job. Because when you're letting someone go, you're not trying to save the situation. You're just trying to save their self-esteem. They didn't do a good job for you. There's no reason for you to beat them up. You give them the reason why it's not working for your company, and then you let them go compassionately. There's no reason to be like, you didn't do this and you don't do that well. And I hear some people, I'm like, why are you beating this person up? Why not say what they did do well? But unfortunately, there was a few things you didn't do well. But in the end, you're a wonderful person. And I think your skills could serve another company well. And I'm happy to give a referral letter for you for the skills that you did do well, right? What's wrong with that? Why does everyone feel like they have to beat everybody up? It's like it really pisses me off, to tell you the truth. So anyway, let's go back to prioritizing, because I skipped over. So we had time management, and then I hit interviewing, and I forgot prioritizing. Prioritizing is another one that's really hard for people because most of us, human nature, we make everything the same level of urgency. It's like if you put down 10 things that you have to do, and you were in level of priority, 1 being the most important thing you have to get done today, 5 being the least important thing you had to get done today, a lot of people's personalities just go, oh, no, everything, one. And I'm like, no, not everything is urgent and a top priority. So really weighing what's giving you the biggest bang for your buck. But I always say the simplest: get to your desk, do the money things first, do the marketing things second, then take care of your clients next. If that's like the simplest beginning, start, and then the other things fall behind it. And you have 3 priorities over a 90-day period. That's it. Everything else goes on to what we call the deck of things, projects that are waiting to happen. It's hard to be patient, but being patient is going to make you be more thorough and allow you to actually make progress, as opposed to just juggling balls and never having one land. Okay, so that's what I have to say about prioritizing. Any other tidbits?
Well, just like time management, there's intentionality in it. And what I wanted to point out, so I have my digital calendar, but every day on paper, I have my top 3 most valuable priorities for the day written out. And it's something that you have to do intentionally. You do not just accidentally get your highest priorities done, because they're often the things that are difficult. There's some sort of obstacle. You need to find the time to focus on them. They're the things that just kept getting pushed away. And I've had this with myself with this project behind me, where I've just felt anxiety about starting it. And yesterday I finally put it on my top priorities. And you know what? I started it, and just that hour or 2 of progress, I was like, oh, I can do this. Okay. Like, this is, it has been on the back of my mind for a week. I'm like, I have to do this, and I haven't put it around and gone around to it yet. There's so much power in prioritizing and writing it down.
There is. And I am old school too. Like every day if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'll do old school lists. Like I'm like you. I have my white, my yellow, I make a little one. You know what? I love this. Like I have my time blocked for meetings and lives and when I have to meet with my staff. But for kind of the culmination of my personal life and my business life, the priorities for today, like I got to remember to heat up the meatballs, like you got to put that down at what time, things like that. People, you can still use pen and paper. It's not like against the rules. So if it helps you, then do it. We have a good question here. I was trying to figure out who it was. If you want your name to be seen, you just have to click the link. Oh, it's Carrie. So how far in advance do you schedule to your time blocking?
Infinitely. And I
was just going to say, as much in the future as I'm able to.
Really recurring meetings are on my calendar, recurring indefinitely. I like this gets so like I meal plan, and I have an 8-week. I'm like obsessed with this, and like a meal rotation. So at least there's something on my calendar to shop for. Anyway, that's a little bit personal stuff, but it's helpful. All that to say, knowing what days of the week I do things, knowing when I have recurring meetings, when we have recurring Facebook Lives, this is on my calendar blocked out every week, this time together.
Right.
And so I do it as far as I can. I would say realistically for the things that ebb and flow, client projects, appointments, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Usually my calendar's fairly chunked out, but there's still some openings. But at
Yeah.
the start of the week, that calendar, like, it's full. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean it can't be moved, it can't be flexed, but I know Monday, like, I'm not going to be taking on a new appointment that week or a consultation, things like that. So,
Yeah, and I'm the same, as far in advance as I can. So
yeah.
if I know I want to do my bookkeeping every Friday, 10 a.m., it's going to go infinite on my calendar,
Mhm.
right? If I know that I'm doing lives every Thursday with you, it's going infinite on my calendar. I plan my vacations a year in advance. I try to block out. There's always last minute things that come up that I have to modify, but for the most part, I do as much
Yeah.
as
And I
possible.
block out markets, high points on my calendar, like the things that any conferences you wanna do, vacations, you need to block that out just as significantly as you do work events,
Otherwise, you'll never go on vacation.
well, that's it, and with me having kids, when they're on break, mama's on break, so that's blocked on my calendar as soon as I have that information, so I like the long view, and then I get, sort of into the weeds at the beginning of the week and figure out what I need to get done so that it aligns with my priorities, my goals for the week, and
Yes.
I've also heard, I don't know who said this, what gets scheduled gets done. It's true. If it's not on your calendar, if it's not on your list, the odds of you doing it are very slim, especially if it's an important thing that
Yeah.
moves the needle.
Well, you know what? In the cognitive overload,
Yeah.
like when you just keep repeating, I can't forget to do this, I can't forget to do that, I'm gonna do that. Like, and when you put it down on paper, this is why one of the tricks to releasing shit from your brain is have a piece of paper next to your nightstand, on your nightstand with a pen. So when
Mhm.
something you think of, you can write it down so you actually can get a good night's sleep and not have to keep repeating because you're afraid you're going to forget, right? So things like that.
Yeah.
So all right, so we did time management, prioritizing, we just did interviewing, delegating. This is a tough one for people.
It
I hear
is.
it often. I just don't know because it takes them 4 hours to do it and it takes me 1 hour to do it. So shouldn't I just be doing it? And I always try to point out, if you are a coach, a consultant, or an interior designer and you charge $150 an hour and you pay your employees, let's just say $25 an hour, even if it takes them 4 hours to do it, it's $100, and it took you 1 hour, that's $150 if you're a $150 an hour employee. Your hour could be then spent on higher level tasks, time blocking, hiring, firing, putting up job descriptions, marketing yourself, making the connections that you need to make to be the rainmaker for your business. So, delegating is important. And I will add one other thing. In the beginning, when you're delegating, it's incredibly frustrating. People
Yes.
don't do it as fast. You're training them how many times over and over again. However, if you just take it from them and just do it and just fix things without telling them you fix things, you're not teaching them to do it better next time,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing is, it's very okay to say, I'm giving you this, and I think it takes about 2 hours. Now, what you've done is actually told the employee that you have an expectation. But let me know if it doesn't take you 2 hours. Let me know if it takes you longer or less, because I'll adjust my expectations then accordingly, right? So you're giving them a specific delegation time frame. This is something most people miss, right? So if you're not using like an Asana or your calendar to time block for them, you need to delegate with specifics. As more specific you can be, the better, and release the control. Let them do. You're not going to grow to the next level unless you learn that skill to release. There will be mistakes. Yes. And you know what? You'll fix them hopefully, and you'll catch
Yes.
them, right? You'll create quality control stopgaps as opposed to doing everything yourself. All right. Anything else on delegating, or you think that covered it all?
Oh, I know that myself included and lots of designers and coaches, I mean, anyone who's leading anybody struggles with what to delegate because, well, we've all had to bootstrap to start. We've all had to take on every role in our business and do everything. But
Yes.
I know, Nancy, you talk about making lists of things you love to do, things you like to do, things you hate to do. That's a great starting point. For me, it was an obvious delegation, bookkeeping. Bye. I'm a little bit dyslexic. Numbers make my face want to melt off. Like that was an easy thing to hand off. But as you get going, there becomes fewer obvious things to delegate. And so it really becomes, what is the best use of me? Like you mentioned sort of like rainmaking, or, you're the one out there. You really need to think about what happens in the business that can only be done by you. So for you, Nancy, it's showing up for coaching calls. It's showing up in these Facebook Lives. You cannot outsource you on video, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise with the
Right.
world. But you
Right.
can outsource updating a Canva template to somebody on your team. Even if you might like to do it and you love the design and you want to control it, there comes a point where there are things you truly cannot delegate, and things that you don't want to, but you can and should. And as you start delegating the easy things, you need to start paying attention to what can truly only be done by me as the business owner. And that
Yes.
really should hopefully eventually be 80, 90+% of your time. But it takes a while to get there.
And it gives you more free time for yourself, so a more well-balanced life. So to exercise and to plan a meal and to do things, right? Once you start delegating properly,
Yeah,
it changes your whole life. And it's an uncomfortable feeling. I get
totally.
messages. It's uncomfortable. I get messages like, okay, now my employee's doing these things. Now, what am I supposed to be doing? And I'm like, okay, this is your new reality. Let's enjoy it. And let's find the things that are going to bring your business and your life
Yeah.
to the next level of satisfaction.
And there's mindset in stepping up to that next level, because I can remember starting as a junior designer and I was the one organizing the sample libraries and getting the copies and doing the CAD work and things that
Yeah.
I'm still happy to do. And there's part of me that struggles with letting it go because, I don't think someone, like, I can do that. It's fine. Like, I'll take care of it. But there's a time and a place for all those roles, and nothing is
Yes.
no work is bad. And there's people that love to do the things you hate to do. I always have to remember that. There's people who love
Yes.
accounting. I'm like, I don't understand you, but thank you for your work. Take my money, solve my problem. So,
It's so true. There are people who love to do what you hate to do.
mhm,
Like
really.
I hate Asana in the sense that I can't organize Asana. It doesn't work in my brain. Thank God I have a manager who's like, I love Asana. Evan, she's moving things
Oh,
around
she
all the time.
lives in there. It's fabulous.
Yeah,
It's
no,
so tight. Oh,
Pamela's the
that's
best. Like, but having someone who likes to do that in order to keep my team organized, God helped me tremendously because I was running a decent company, but I was unorganized in my own way.
mhm.
So it's really important to have people who can do what you hate to do. And we do have a delegation identifier in the membership site. So that helps. And I think it's like what I love to do, what I hate to do, what I'm not good at. And I forgot the other category, but this is a starting point to start to figure out what type of person you need to help your team
Yes.
or you. Okay. So I already talked about firing with respect. I always overlap all my topics. Just I think it's one of my signature specialties, just muddling everything together. But firing with respect, if you need to go back and listen, go back and listen, because this is a really important topic to not have to beat someone up and kill their self-esteem and then let them out in the world without a job. There's a way to do it, and there's a respectful way to do it, and go back and listen because I went over them. Training others. We touched on that. Do you have any methods for training your virtual assistants? Ooh.
Start early in your business, even when it is just you, documenting your systems and procedures. Set up an operations manual. I felt stupid. It was just me. I was totally solo. And it was like the whole Lesley Myrick interior design, how we work, who our ideal client is, what our design process is. And I had it all written out, which was crazy when it was just me, because we all know we can keep it up here. But
Yes.
if that's one piece of advice I can give entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, write things down. Have one central place for that kind of operations. I know you call them SOPs, your standard operating procedures. I have my operations manual, same thing.
Same thing.
Document it, and it is infinitely easier to onboard somebody when things are out of your brain and on paper. I mean, paper, Google Doc, whatever works for you.
Wherever you store
That
your operating
Yes, that
procedures,
has
your
been a big
SOP.
help for me, is just having a document where it's written down,
And if you're not as organized as Lesley, because I definitely was not, I'm so impressed with all the stuff that you do with that. When you hire someone, when you train them, have them write it out, and that becomes your operating manual. That's your SOP.
Yeah.
If you teach them how to pick up the phone and say, hello, this is my company. What can I do for you? That is a procedure, how you want the phone answered, how you want things entered into the computer. If you have yet to put your operation manual in place, don't hesitate to hire someone if you need somebody.
Bingo.
But then as they're learning, have them write the procedures. You double check it, make sure they're not missing anything. And then it's the beginning of your operations manuals, beginning of your SOPs, standard
I've seen a
operating
lot of
procedures.
people have success with, using Loom, for example, doing a quick training video. It takes you 5 minutes, and then they have that video to refer to, and they can use everything you said, and they can be the ones to write it out and make it clearer for future generations of team members for you. So this
Yes.
doesn't have to be a huge time suck or massive energy drain if you haven't started. So don't let that scare you
Yeah.
if you're not a nerd like me who sets up systems years in advance. You can absolutely delegate this, and that's a great point, Nancy.
And I think the video is a great thing. Remember that your SOPs or your procedures, your operating manual, it should be idiot proof. And I always say, like, if I can take the procedure and do it, then it's idiot proof. Like, if everything my staff does, all the technical work and all the systems they use in the background, you know what? Give me the URL, give me the password, tell me step by step what I need to do to get this done, word for word. If I'm emailing a client in this situation, if I can take an SOP or a procedure and actually do it myself, then I know it's a well-written procedure with a video when needed, screenshots,
Yes.
instructions, step by step, right? All this is important. Okay, last thing, because I do have a meeting in 1 minute. Letting go of your control. We touched on this before, but let's just end with this. There are times where it's going to be super uncomfortable. When you get the most uncomfortable is when you're on the verge of the biggest growth.
Yes.
So let go of the control as you start becoming a leader and a manager. Recognize it, acknowledge it, but then know that it's part of your journey to get to that next level. Otherwise, you're really never going to be able to be the CEO of your business, I think is the best way to say it, right? Really be the leader and the manager and not the worker bee always, right? You have two hats in your business. You work for your business and you're the CEO of your business. You work for your business, that's what your salary is for. Hopefully everyone's paying themselves. And then to be the CEO and the risk taker, that's where if you have extra profit in your business, you can take it out, right? So to get there, leadership and management skills are key. If anyone is struggling with these things, we have lessons in the membership site. We have free content in the Business Building Boutique. I put a link to the free content, and that's where you'll see all the paid stuff. Also, get yourself some help. This is holding you back from becoming profitable, what you want to be, possibly. If you feel like it is, don't sit around and just think about it. Actually do something about it.
Yeah.
Imagine if you do something about it now, what your life will be like in a year, right? Otherwise, you can just keep thinking about it for a year and start another year from now. Life's too short for me. So, all right, everyone, go have a great Thursday. Thank you, Lesley.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nancy.
All right, we'll see you next week for Thursday Thoughts, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.